Runners in wide.
What do those kind of days and weeks after that kind of feel like?
They felt a little bit, I think, I would imagine they feel a little bit like when someone retires and doesn't have a plan anymore, where their whole, like for the last year, the year leading up to that, every day had pretty much been structured in a way that was gonna bring me closer to my goal of making the team, and then all of a sudden that was gone. You know, 2 or 3 weeks after the trials, all of a sudden the world shuts down.
COVID-19 epidemic.
It was kind of like wandering aimlessly, I guess, between days. It looked aimless, I guess, is what I would say.
I think it took a long time for Scott to get over the trials, a long time. I don't think that I saw the same Scott Fauble spark that we've grown accustomed to until the race that we just did in Michigan.
Running that 1:02:18 in Michigan in this kind of windy half marathon on a hilly course, like that's my PB. That's as fast as I've ever run for a half marathon. Boston was amazing, but in the process, like I just came off of it with a little injury, and we weren't able to get it in control over the summer and even into the fall. And I would have these workouts where I was tough enough and I was strong enough and I was talented enough where I could get through the workout, and would get into a race and like I couldn't find that last 5% and I was getting blown out of the water. And that was really frustrating because like I was doing a good job of convincing myself I was ready. I was in the right mindset where I was like, I'm gonna compete. And it's kind of been a pattern of that where like I can convince myself I'm back. I can convince myself I'm ready. I can convince myself I'm physically all there. And, you know, through the trials and even through the summer, like as much as I would try to convince myself, the evidence wasn't there. And so I'm doing the same thing now where I'm convincing myself I'm back, and we finally had a little bit of evidence where that was the case.
When he ran the half marathon there, that's when you saw the instincts take over. That's when you saw the Scott that we know charging, trying to win the race, making big moves. That's not someone I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I wrote down the 10 names of the people who got top 10 at the trials, and I made 2 copies. One is on my board of rehab exercises and one's in my home gym. And I put them there because I don't like doing that stuff. I think reminding myself of those people and that really, really shitty feeling of not being as good as them on a day that really, really mattered. You know, reminding myself of that feeling keeps me working hard because I don't want to feel that again. And I'm sure I'll feel disappointment in my career, but I don't want to feel that kind of like helpless disappointment where I didn't show up the best version of myself. I'm okay with losing if I put myself forward in the best way possible. Like it's happened before and it'll happen again, where I run as well as I can and I'm not good enough to win. That's fine, I can deal with that. But not being as good as I can be really burns, it really sucks. And once I kind of got over the useless feeling, I'm hoping I can turn that sort of like memory of that disappointment into like a really useful memory.
The Marathon Project is coming up on December 20th. It's a race that came together, I guess, in September. We've been training for it just like we would the Olympic trials or the New York City Marathon or anything like that. We're taking it very seriously. I think the athletes are very locked in.
When this opportunity kind of presented itself, we took a little reset and we're hoping that this fall will kind of be a way to right the ship really in 2020 and not kind of see this as an entirely wasted year, which is important to me. I mean, I'm 28 years old, I just turned 29. This is kind of my prime, and I don't want to spend the next 3 or 4 years kind of wasting opportunities. So I'm all in for this marathon project, and just kind of an opportunity to salvage something positive from the last 12 months. Yeah, 4 really hard weeks, and then 2 weeks where it's just trying to get the body rested, trying to get the body recovered, and just a little sharpening here and there. But the next 4 weeks are going to be tough.